Dennis and I had planned to meet between 6 and 6:30 at Lake of the Ozarks to do some crappie fishing. The reason we were meeting so early was the wind was supposed to be very strong around the middle of the day. And would you believe it? I actually got there before Dennis. It was a beautiful drive up the lake with the sun just beginning to come up, but we noticed that there was already significant riffles on the water. Dennis had already marked some waypoints for some new spots that he had found, and it was our plan today to fish those. While Dennis was getting the boat positioned to fish the first spot we were going to fish, I couldn't help but take some pictures of a couple of ducks that were there swimming around the boat, pairing off for mating season. As I was watching the ducks fly away, I looked up in the air and there was what appeared to be an eagle. But the coloration was not right for an eagle. So I was a bit confused. I thought it might be a juvenile eagle, but it's the wrong time of the year for that. As I finished my birdwatching episode, I turned to see that Dennis was already catching a crappie from the structure that we had come to fish. He had caught them here the last time he went fishing. As Dennis turned to begin fishing again, a very unusual thing happened. A voice came from the boat dock that you can see in front of Dennis, and it said, "What are you guys doing out there?" And Dennis said, "We're trying to catch some crappie." And he said, "Well, you can't catch crappie there. Come and fish my boat dock. You can catch a lot more crappie here." After a brief conversation where we told him we didn't want to be a bother, he was insistent that we come and fish his dock. He even picked up a fishing rod and caught a crappie real quickly to show us how good the fishing was. We had never had anything like this happen before. I was caught totally by surprise and didn't get any of this conversation on camera. We finally accepted his invitation to come on board the dock and see if we could catch some crappie. As we walked onto the dock, the man and his dog started walking down the walkway to meet us. After we got on the dock, he gave us a brief fishing lesson. He caught another fish and another fish and told us that the secret was to use red and yellow as the color of the jig. He then proceeded to give us instructions on how to hold the rod and where to throw the lure. I wish I had gotten all this on video, but at this point I didn't have permission to film either him or his boat dock.
After the break, we appreciate the nice work.
I think so. Yeah.
Also, some music from Matchbox 20.
Lake Regional Health System, here for you. Presented by the Springfield, Missouri Convention and Visitors Bureau. Discover why if it's true to life, you'll find it in Springfield, Missouri. Plan your trip at springfieldmo.org. Missouri has sports and Phil Pollock.
The guy who invited us to fish finally left, and we fished the dock for a while. We caught several small crappie, but that wasn't what we had come to do. So we decided to go back out on the lake before the winds got high and fish some of the spots that Dennis had marked. We fished a couple of spots and only caught a couple of fish on them. The fishing was really tough, so we decided to fish a boat dock that we often fish when we're in this area.
Big old crappie there, big old crappie. Ah, come here. Yeah, get your jig over here where you can show it off for me. One thing about it is on camera, all these fish are big because they're all the same size. Which one of these live well? Front one?
Yeah.
Well, we're doing good now. We're up to 2.
Smoking. Where am I?
Wrong button. I'm gonna get you in action there.
As we were catching these fish, I could hear the wind blowing across the camera. We were almost ready to go back out on the main lake.
Get a double here.
We caught fish after fish, but only a couple were big enough to keep, so we decided to go back out on the main lake.
Man, fly. I was bringing it up. I don't know if I believe he might measure. Think you will?
Oh yeah. There's a measure right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna check him. Oh, there's what he got to be?
9.
Oh, he's 9.5. Yeah.
While we were fighting the waves and fishing out on the lake, I looked up and the bird that I thought was an eagle earlier in the morning came flying in and landed on a dead limb not more than 80 to 90 yards away from us. I zoomed in to him. The stabilizer was trying to hold him still, but I was able to identify him as an osprey, and I had never filmed this bird before. The sharply bent beak and the black ring around its head were the identifying characteristics. Fishing out on the lake was getting tougher and tougher, but we were determined to check out the spots that Dennis had previously marked. The only fish we caught on the next spot that we fished turned out being one of the highlights of the trip for me. Dennis caught this hybrid perch of some kind. I had never seen one like it before. It was getting more and more difficult to fish the spots that Dennis had marked previously, so we decided to motor all the way back up to the first spot where we had started. We weren't having any luck on that spot either, and the little man saw us fishing there, and he said, "I knew you would be back." And so he beckoned us back onto his dock.
Dennis? Dennis?
New furniture, brand new appliances, and maybe a new HD TV, computers, game systems, washers, dryers, and more. It's rental at its best. National TV sales and rental with 60 locations.
The joke of the day started when the little man told us that they would only hit jigs that were red and yellow. Of course, neither one of us had that. So all day long, when we weren't catching very many fish, I told Dennis, "Next time you need to bring your red and yellow." So I got on the dock ahead of Dennis with a jig that was red and orange, which is as close as I could come. And I caught this crappie, and I took a picture of it. And I was waiting for Dennis to come back so I could harass him one more time about not having a red and yellow jig.
Look here, look here, look here. Do you see this? Look at this color on it. Caught, I'm catching them on.
Oh yeah. See, it's brighter. See but I use a smaller one, real small, so
Yeah.
they don't even see it before they hit it.
Yeah.
I never miss that way. I hate to lose a good sized one, get him up, and then he flops a few times. And gone is. Because it's usually the one that
Whoops,
play
whoops,
and make
whoops,
a nice.
whoops.
Hey, hi, Bill.
He's all right, he's all right. I was afraid I had him hooked.
Well, wouldn't be our first time.
Did you have one orange?
No. Pull it like this with your hand. See? Like that. And you pull them in like this. Daddy. No shit, Daddy. And if you just do it like that, just use your hand, you feel a pull. And then you use your hand to pull the line. Set the hook, pull them up. Just pull them and throw them on the left. You never have to cast it in.
He's got them trained in there. He's got them trained in there. Got to give me one more demonstration.
They're hooked, just lift them up and put them on top. I saw this guy sit here and he just, one right after another. Hell, he never casted once. Realize, AIDS does have some kind of knowledge. I'm just going to follow everybody that's smarter than me.
Dennis and I have been flipping docks forever, but never have we flipped sideways under a board and a metal bar that sits only 6 inches off the water. Dennis couldn't resist fishing one more time around the big tree, but we didn't catch a single fish there, and it was time for me to go home. Dennis was going to stay and fish a little longer. Well, what a wonderful and eventful trip this has been. Being on the water with Dennis is always fun, but I got to meet a new friend on the boat dock. I got to take a picture of a bird, the osprey, that I had never filmed before. I got to take a picture of the 2 ducks and the hybrid I'd never seen before. And we managed finally to get 15 crappie big enough to keep so that I could take them home with me. I hope you enjoyed this trip as much as I did.